the Lakers or the Bucks?
It would be easy to say the Bucks, especially if you just look at the conferences and that their separation from being the top team to the next team is a little bit more. But, you know, you have to think about that Christmas Day matchup. And it showed me a lot. The Bucks, they are an excellent team. They have Giannis Antetokounmpo, the reigning MVP, who's bettering his game. They are also surrounded by an ecosystem that allows him to realize his full potential. What are they? First best rating in defensive rating in the NBA, third best offense or so. But when it comes to the playoffs are a different breed. The game slows down. It's played in the half court. The Bucks lead the NBA in fast break points. You won't get those points. Giannis, he's expanding his game to three. Yeah, but in the playoffs, and we saw this, especially on Christmas Day when all eyes were on him, he struggled. He really sort of got exposed to a small degree. Now, the pace really slows down, and you dedicate yourself in the playoffs to scouting reports and getting the best of your opponents. And to me, the weaknesses of the Bucks are that, yes, you rely heavy on Giannis, and Giannis is the engine, you know, the one that makes everyone go. Yes, your supporting cast is stepping up so far. They have a strong supporting cast, 13 guys average double-digit minutes. But the fact of the matter is, when you think about the Lakers, they have a little bit of everything. Now, I know their route is going to be way more difficult, but entering this season, we were talking about dynamic duos, and in the playoffs, star power matters. LeBron James and Anthony Davis, they're a force to be reckoned with. When they're both on the floor, they have the best defensive rating, you know, in the West. Also, if you think about their supporting cast, I think they can go toe-to-toe like the way we saw the Sixers athletically on the perimeter defensively, the same way the Sixers neutralized the Bucks, in the sense that you have Avery Bradley, who's a great defender. You have Danny Green, who's an excellent transition defender. But you also have Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee, and obviously, you know, Anthony Davis holding it down in the paint. So these are two different teams with two different paths, but I don't want to say that we should christen the Bucks and say put them in the playoffs, because they still have a lot of questions to be answered. Meanwhile, you can rely on the championship experience of the Lakers.
You made a lot of great points about why the Lakers are a good team. Nobody at this table thinks the Lakers are bad, but the question is who's more likely to make it to the finals. And the path for the Bucks is better. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily easier because the East is getting stronger. It's not the weak East that it used to be, but you look at how they made it in the playoffs. You say the playoffs are different. They advanced to the conference finals in those same playoffs. And you know who they lost to? The Raptors. And the Raptors are a little bit different this year without Kawhi Leonard out there, the finals MVP. So if they have to go through this same route with they're better, statistically, by all statistical measures, they're better. The playoffs slow down. You rely more on adjustments and coaches. Coach Bud is a great coach. They're going to be adjusting and moving forward. And you go through a weaker division and potentially end up in a finals, or excuse me, a weaker conference, potentially end up in a conference final against a weaker opponent. That's good. I think that they can go through that. It's more likely that they get through that and they beat the Celtics, and it's going to be tough to get past the size of the 76ers. I actually think the 76ers, while they're not the best team, they're probably the toughest challenge for the Bucks. If they can get past that, I think that's more likely. But you look at that other side, and you don't even have to go all around the conference. You just have to go to one team in the same city. And we all know, I don't think anyone here would argue, before the season, we all agreed that the Clippers are a more complete team and probably a better team. And when they play the Lakers, they win, and they appear to be better. The Clippers may not have the best record because the Clippers don't seem to care about home field advantage. They care about getting to the playoffs healthy with their stars. And I think it's more likely that the Bucks can beat the Raptors and the 76ers and maybe the surging Celtics. It's much more likely that they can beat those three teams than the Lakers are going to pull past the Clippers.
What do we know about the Bucks? We know that, yes, they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, right? But what have they given us answers to? Yes, they're a dominant team. But if you look at their supporting cast, I know there's Ersan Ilyasova or Sanity going on. And they have a lot of different players stepping up each and every night, right? But what do we know about them in the playoffs? There's a lot of questions still to be answered, which is why I'm not going to christen them getting there to the NBA Finals. But what do we know about the Lakers? We do know that LeBron James did go to 8 straight finals. We do know that Anthony Davis is a certified talent. And if you think about a team that has 2 star players that can touch every inch of the court effectively.
They're going to beat the Clippers. They're going to beat the Clippers.
The same way you're talking about the Bucks and them, you know, being able to be healthy and towards the end and have an easy way, that's the same way that you have to think about the Lakers, because I've been the one saying that they need to load manage LeBron James, because if they load manage LeBron James, which they did not do on Christmas Day, that will allow him to play to his full utmost potential. And I think that will change the outcome when we talk about Clippers, Lakers.
Here's the one thing I will say, and I you know, I'm a huge Lakers fan. The one thing that really worries me is about when LeBron goes to the bench. Who's the primary ball handler? Who's going to be the guy when AD's just on the floor? Because quite frankly, the Los Angeles Lakers are a totally different team. When LeBron has to sit down and it's just AD on the floor, they become basically like the Pelicans when AD was a part of the Pelicans.
That's my point.
And to me, that's a big issue considering perimeter play is going to be a big part of the play, especially in the playoffs. We talk about everything in the half court, and the one thing that we know when you look at like the Los Angeles Clippers, you talk about perimeter play. They got 3 guys on the perimeter. Where you talk about Kawhi Leonard, Paul George,
Lou Will. I get you.
All those guys on the,
I think
all the big time defenders on the perimeter, and I think that's going to be a big deal when it comes to the postseason.
I think the difference is we know LeBron James will be on the floor when it comes to the NBA playoffs. We know Giannis will, but they will treat him differently come playoffs. And if you watch that Christmas Day game, you saw that they were playing 4-on-5, sagged off of him, disrespected him, which made it liability to me.
Here's my question to you about because
secondary playmaker.
Philly to me seems like a front-running team because they came out there on Christmas Day and had a great game plan. But then they don't follow it up in subsequent opponents.
Let me tell you about Philly.
That's the deal about Philadelphia.
Let me tell you about Philly, and I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it 100 right here. Philly has young stars, and their egos, they're sort of boxing each other out for egos. Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. It is easy for the Philadelphia 76ers to keep their stuff together for one night on Christmas Day when all the eyes are on them. It's harder when you're young and you're growing stars and doing that 82 games. If they do that 82 games, I have them in the East, but they don't. The more mature team is the Bucks.
In a 7-game series against Giannis, and we know Giannis is coming.
But let's talk about the motivation because we haven't even addressed Joel Embiid because who was the one that lost in the semifinals of the East to the Raptors? It was Joel Embiid who cried, and he changed his whole mindset so far this year. Yes, he did.
Because I don't know about
if you heard, no. Let me tell you the mindset because I watched the game. Let me tell you the mindset because I watched the game, and after in the post-game interview, he said, "Y'all, all I care about is the playoffs." A lot of people, Charles Barkley, Shaq included, were talking about how I'm not motivated, I'm not playing hard. This is an 82-game season. This is a guy that's dealt with health. He just wants to get to the playoffs healthy. And then he said, then you'll hear me talking trash.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube.
For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app.
And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.